going to be a full glam tutorial. This is going to be the type of makeup you will want to use for like an event, or if you're going out, you have date night, that type of makeup. So if you haven't already, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and let's get started. So one of the most important steps when you are doing any kind of makeup, but especially full glam, is skin prep. When you have dry skin or you're not exfoliating, you have texture skin, it's not going to apply well. So I have dry skin and I make sure that I moisturize. I use lots of like serums. So when you have oily skin, it's like your skin is trying to overcompensate for the lack of moisture that you have in your skin. So for oily skin, I feel like a lot of people tend to think like, oh, my skin's oily, I shouldn't really moisturize it. That's like the opposite of what you want to do. You want to make sure that you're moisturizing your skin. I will say though, use a water-based moisturizer. They're like the Neutrogena water gel. I'll put a picture of it. When you're using your moisturizer to prep your skin, you want to make sure that it's one that's like a quick absorption moisturizer, one that will actually soak into the skin and not sit on top of the skin, because that can cause peeling. So peeling is when you have that moisturizer or serum or whatever skincare you put on your face and it's sitting on top of it like a dry, like a cast. If you put your foundation on top of it and you're, you know, rubbing in your primers and your foundation, all that stuff, it'll start to peel because the products are not mixing well together. So try and find a moisturizer that'll really absorb into your skin so that doesn't happen. Another big important step that I think is exfoliation. So there's different types of exfoliation. You have physical exfoliation, which are exfoliators that have like little beads in them that actually physically exfoliate your skin, and then you have chemical exfoliators. I recommend physical exfoliators for beginners into makeup and into skincare, because the chemicals, you know, it'd be a lot like that. So I would recommend like a very kind of like mild physical exfoliator. The Aveeno brightening scrub, that's a good exfoliator. I use the Dermalogica rice powder. I really like that one. But you want to use that physical exfoliator to scrub all that dead skin off, so your skin is like nice and like smooth and plump for the makeup to sit on nice. Okay, so let's get into it. For my skin prep, I do a couple of things. So I'm going to use this toner. This is from Fresh. It's the Deep Hydration Facial Toner. And I'm going to pat this in to my skin. Then I use a eye cream. This is from Fresh as well. It's the Lotus Youth Preserve Eye Cream. I use eye cream because I have dry skin, so sometimes my under eyes get dry. And this helps prep them to be nice and moisturized. You could use eye patches for sure. Like, you could definitely use eye patches to prep. You can wear them while you're doing like your eyebrows or your eyeshadow. You can do a sheet mask to help give you extra moisture. I do like to use a sheet mask when I have an event. This is the Dew, and this is a good moisturizer to use underneath foundation, because it's gonna absorb really nicely and not sit on top of your skin like a heavy creamy moisturizer would. Okay, so like I told y'all, I like to layer my primers. I highly recommend this. This is the Danessa Myricks the Yummy Skin Blurring Balm Powder. This is like some type of like velvety, smooth, long lasting, like a cream foundation. But she also has a universal shade that doesn't have any pigment at all. And I also do have one that has pigment, but I like to use this as a primer. This makes my makeup last so long. So if you want to really get into your makeup bag and be able to do like a long lasting full face, get this. So I'm going to go in with my Milk Hydro Grip all on like my cheeks and my chin area. in my forehead. And I'm just going to press it in. Now with your primers, make sure you are letting them dry down between each application. Okay, then I'm going to go in with the blurring balm. And it comes with the spatula, so I just scoop it with the spatula. And I actually use my fingers to apply this. You can use a brush, whatever you want, but my fingers work fine. And then I just kind of rub it in. And I pat it too a little bit. Now the key with achieving a full glam face is that you want it to last long. And for it to last long, you have to use a lot of product. Now that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come out cakey, but you have to use the makeup for it to last as long as you want it to last. So don't be afraid to put it on. Put it on, girl. It'll be okay. Now, I know for sure with this, she recommends letting this sit for 3 minutes before you do anything else. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do the water powder serum. And like I said, this blocks sweat and oils. It's a mattifying primer. So I'm going to put this in my T-zone because I get oily all in this area. Last primer, the One Size Secure the Blur. This is a pore filling primer. Sometimes I get big pores in my T-zone. They don't look that bad right now. But I'm going to just do a little bit on top of that water powder serum right here. Okay, you guys ready? So before I get started, I have dark marks, so I like to spot conceal. I'm going to use this NARS Potted Concealer. Just do some spot concealing to cover up these dark marks so that I don't have to layer on so much foundation to cover it up. Okay, class. What type of concealer brush would I use to blend out a spot conceal? If you said either one of these, you are correct. Either one of these. Because they're small, they're short, and they're dense. And it's going to help keep the product controlled in that area. So I'm going to go in with my House Labs. This, I'm a little bit more on the paler side because it's winter time, but this is my like everyday shade, so it's gonna be a little darker, but it's okay. It's gonna be fine. So I am in 480, which is medium deep neutral. I love this foundation. This is a really, really good foundation, like for real. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Remember, we are going to load up our brush to get the product in there. And this is going to help it evenly distribute across your face. Sometimes you might see me put dots on my face and then blend it out, but this is the best way to apply it. And you're not gonna do circles and you're not gonna drag. You're gonna press. You're gonna press it into your skin. And it's also important that you press when you spot conceal like I did, so that the concealer and the foundation don't mix. And then you pick up the concealer and it was pretty much pointless for you to spot conceal. And you want to drag it down your neck so that it all blends nicely. Now, when you are applying your foundation, you don't want to bring your foundation up under your under eye because you're already going to use concealer. And if you have the foundation and the concealer, it's going to be too much for your under eye. The skin on your eye is very, very thin. It's very, very delicate. So when you have too much product on it, nothing you're going to do is going to prevent it from creasing. So the less product under, the less amount of product under your eye, the better. Now I'm going to go with my NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer and Medium Deep 3. Now, when it comes to the way you apply your concealer, it depends on the look you're going for and also the shape of your face. So I have like a heart-shaped face because I have a widow's peak. So my hairline goes like this and it creates like a heart-shaped face. And what I've learned, what works for my face, is that when I drag my concealer out, because my eyes are kind of angled too, it kind of gives that elongated cat eye look, and that enhances the features of my face. So that's why I apply my concealer the way that I do. If you have more of like a rounded eye and more of like a round face, that probably wouldn't really work for your face. So what you can do is you can go on Google and you can look up the different types of face shapes, and you can see and determine what type of face shape you have, and then you can see what way you can apply your concealer to best enhance your features. Because just because I apply my concealer this way doesn't mean this is gonna look flattering on your face. I put a little bit right here on the bridge of my nose, and then under my eye like this, and then I drag it out at the corner. Same thing over here. I'm not going to blend that out just yet. I'm going to let that dry down because this concealer is really creamy. So I can let this dry down longer than I would like a more mattifying concealer. Mattifying products typically dry down really fast, so you want to work with them pretty quickly. But while this is drying down, I'm going to go in with my bronzer, which is the Say in Deep Bronze. And I'm going to bronze. I like to take this flat angled brush and bronze. So I'm going to go right in. And I'm just going to apply a little bit on the back of my hand just to kind of help with the distribution. When you're contouring or bronzing, and the placement matters. If you put your contour too low or your bronzer too low, you're going to drag your face down. You want to put it a little bit higher than the hollows of your cheeks. So you see it right there. So I'm going to put it like kind of like right underneath my cheekbone. And you do this to help lift your face, to give it a lifted look, and it just helps it look more balanced than it would if you placed it too low. And I'm patting, I'm dabbing, I'm not dragging. Like I said, I like that cat eye look, so I'm also going to put it here at the temples. Put a little bit right here, like on the sides of my widow peak, and it's gonna kind of give me like almost like a triangular look. Now I'm gonna go back in with my foundation brush and just blend everything together. Now I'm gonna go in with a cream blush. Well, blush placement, it's the same concept. The way you place your blush is going to help kind of determine the way your makeup is going to look and what kind of aesthetic you're going to give. I like it to look snatched, so I normally do my blush in the same fashion of like that angleness. It just brings the color back, so you don't look so like you know what I'm saying? It just helps enhance everything. And we're gonna do dabbing motions again. I'm gonna try to not disturb that concealer too much because we're about to blend that next. You kind of want to think of your application like as like Neapolitan ice cream. bronzer, blush, concealer. But you want to make sure it is all blended and not sitting on top of each other. Okay, so now I'm going to take a fluffy tapered brush. That's what I like to use to blend out my concealer. And I'm going to do the edges first. And then I'm going to go in and get up under the eye.
You know it's tea when you see them.
You see the blend. You see it. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with a lighter concealer and just do the tiniest little dot right here to just give that brightening effect, because remember, this is makeup you want to use when you're out. That brightness will help photograph well, but you don't need too much. Now I'm gonna highlight my chin, my Cupid's bow, and my forehead. And you put concealer in these places because these are the higher points of your face. So it just brings that balance back, like how you do the contour in the shadows and the depths. These do the same effect, but opposite. I don't wait for this to dry down because it's not really necessary, because I'm not really looking for coverage like with under my eyes. Now while that's still drying down, I'm gonna go in with my bronzer and contour my nose. This can get very advanced and very technical. The only thing that I can really recommend is that I wouldn't use contour like that gray brown like we talked about last time. I wouldn't use contour. I would use bronzer, because bronzer I feel like is easier to fix, but with contour it just can get really muddy really fast. So I'm gonna take a small brush and pick up the product, and I'm gonna put it here, like in this part of my eye socket, I guess. And this is going to elongate the bridge of your nose. I don't even like contouring my nose like that. I feel like sometimes it's overkill in makeup, but I know some people who want to learn how to do it. And then you bring it down the bridge of your nose, down the sides. And I stop right about where the tip of my nose is. And then I go right under the tip. And it gives me like a cute button nose. And now you want to blend. And then I'm going to go back in with just a little bit of that concealer to reinforce that bridge. Now I can blend this out. Right in the corners. So now I'm going to go in with a setting spray. What? Setting spray right now? Yes, setting spray right now. Because it's going to help melt everything together. And it's also going to help it last longer. So I'm going to take the Charlotte Tilbury. And I'm going to spray my creams. Okay, I zoomed you guys in for this part. So now we're going to go in and set all of our creams with powders. So I'm going to take my one size powder foundation. You don't always have to use powder foundation to set the foundation, but this is what I use. You can use a pressed powder. I just use this one because it's closest to my skin tone. So I'm going to pick it up, tap off the excess, and I'm gonna set the foundation. Next, I'm gonna take my huge fluffy brush and my powder bronzer. I like to mix. Tap it off. Now this, I don't like to go too crazy because I don't want to cover up the blush. So I'm just going light right here. And then I can go right here on the edges. Okay, then I'm gonna take my Pat McGrath blush and my blush brush. And set the blush. Careful not to go too high into the concealer. Have a very light hand. So this is one of my favorite tips that I like to give about concealer. So you see how the concealer has already set in my eye crease like that? That's okay. It happens. This is a creamy concealer, so it's gonna happen. So you want to get your pressed powder. I do pressed powder first. I know some people do the setting powder, but this is just what I do. So you want to load this up already. Just have it ready. You want to dab off the extra. Okay. You want to take your brush and you want to blend it back out. Now, without moving your eye too much, immediately set it. And then you want to go this way, and then you want to go back. And that's going to help get that product into the crease to help it keep it from creasing. And then you want to drag it out so you get that snatch look. And then you want to do the sides of your nose to help reinforce the nose contour. Blend it out. Immediately set. Go across. Go back in. And we can take it down the bridge too to help set the nose. And then I also like to press it into my eyebrows because my eyebrows get oily. So now we're gonna bake. I'm taking my RCMA translucent powder. I'm gonna take my puff. When you do this, you don't want to just take it like this and then, no. You see how it's like uneven? So you want to load it and then you want to smooth it out so that when you put it on, it's even. And then you press and drag it out. Same thing over here. Okay, so while that's baking, I'm gonna do my eyebrows. I feel like people still do like the older way to do your eyebrows, like how you were doing like the block brows, carving out with the concealer and stuff. I don't do that anymore. This is probably the only clean makeup aesthetic thing that I picked up since that trend started a couple years ago. I literally just take a very small pencil, eyebrow pencil, and I literally just fill in my brows. I don't conceal them or nothing. It just gives it like a really natural look. Also, if you can, try and have your eyebrows like already like cleaned up, because if your eyebrows are like outgrown, you might have to conceal them, you know, to conceal those overgrown hairs. But if you keep them clean and groomed, it'll definitely help with the time of like sitting there trying to do your eyebrows. Okay, so now I'm gonna do eyeshadow. So I'm gonna go back in with that potted concealer from NARS and apply that. And this is gonna be a base for the concealer, and it's also gonna cover up the discoloration on my eyelids to give me a nice clean base. And then I'm gonna take some pressed powder and set that. So you want to make sure you set this if it's not like a dry down formula, or else your eyeshadows are just gonna stick right to it and it's gonna be really hard to blend. So I'm gonna take this palette from Makeup by Mario. This is the Master Mattes. This is a really really good neutral palette, and it's mainly warm colors, but that's okay. So I'm gonna show you a very simple 3-color eyeshadow that is like kind of like a staple in that like soft glam type eyeshadow. It's not as complicated as it looks. So starting off, I have 2 brushes. I have a fluffy and like a big fluffy brush and a tapered. So we're gonna start with the fluffy brush. Remember, you take the bigger brush because we're gonna go in with our transition shade. The color that is deposited the most, so it's gonna be blown out the most, which is why you have the bigger brush. So you typically want very like neutral, not too dark, not too light type of color, because you're gonna be using that one the most. And if it's too light, then your eyeshadow will look ashy. And if it's too dark, then it's gonna look muddy and you can't layer the other colors properly. So a good transition shade, I normally go in with this one. You just want to dap, dap, dap to pick it up. You want to always tap off the excess. So when you do your eyeshadow, you want to do very, like, hold the brush at the end. Don't hold it up here. Hold it at the end because you have more control this way. You don't want to go in and be all hard, like heavy-handed. You want to have a very, very light hand, because it's better to add more color than add too much color at first, because then you can't take it away. So you want to do small circles. I start in the outer corner and then I go in. Just small circles, all in your crease. This is your crease. And you go back and forth. Okay, so you see like a little bit of a harsh line right there. That's when you want to take a clean brush and then you want to blend that out with no product on it. And it gets it nice and blended. So I don't know if you can see the difference of it being blended and not blended. See that line right there? And see how this is like blown out? This is what you want. And next is actually the crease shade. So now we want to go in with a little bit of a darker color. Let's do this one. So same thing, hold the brush at the end, tap off the excess. And when you go in the crease, you're gonna go in the outer corner again. And you're gonna just use a very, very light hand. And you're gonna use like that same circle motion and bring it into the crease. Now with this, I like to do like a C shape. So I'm applying the eyeshadow like this. And I'm digging that brush into my crease like it's the fold of like my eyeball. And I want it darker over here and a lot lighter up here. So I'm doing a really light hand right here and dragging it down. Now you use this smaller brush to keep this color more concentrated right here, to keep it from muddying the transition shade. So now I'm just gonna take it and just kind of flick it out. And that's gonna create that cat eye look that I've been doing this whole time. You don't want to over blend this color. You want to be able to see the two colors blended together. Like, you don't want it to be one whole color. That's why you have your transition shade, and then you're gonna darken it with the crease shade. Okay, so now I'm gonna take this big like shader brush. Let's mix these two. Now I'm gonna take the edge of the brush, and I'm going to use it to help create that kind of cut out shape. And I'm gonna press this on the lid. So doing it like this instead of doing the cut crease, like, you know, cutting it out with like the concealer, it just gives it a way softer look. So I'm literally rotating the brush to help create that lid shape. Okay, so now we're gonna go back in with this brush, the first brush, and blend this out with a light hand. And then the second brush and blend that out. So to give it just a little bit of extra, you know, pizzazz, I'm gonna go on with my Fenty Diamond Balm. This one is like falling apart, but I still be using it. And I'm gonna take my finger. See? Every time. I'm gonna take that same brush just because my nails are in the way. And I'm gonna dust it over the whole look. Not too crazy, because you don't want to cover up all that hard work, but to just give it like, yeah. Hit the brow bone. Yeah. I'm going to take my Made by Mitchell color case, and I'm going in with this dark brown, a little bit of some eyeliner. I didn't want to do black because I don't want this to be too harsh for this particular look. This little tiny brush and just smudge that out a little bit. Then I'm going to take it in my waterline. Now we are finally going to wipe off the bake. So I take a little bit of the pressed powder and I swipe. Swipe, swipe, swipe. Probably the only time you'll really try and swipe your makeup. I'm also going to take that powder puff and just cut out my contour right here with that pressed powder. And you don't gotta let that bake, and just immediately dust that right off. Before I do all my mascara, I do my sprays. So I'm gonna do the one size powder melt, It's gonna melt all these powders together. Charlotte Tilbury. Okay, now I'm gonna do my mascara, lashes, and my lip. So yeah, so this is my full glam look that I do when I go out or I have an event and I want it to look good. I want it to photograph well, and I want it to last long. So I hope that I got some good tips in there for you guys. I hope it was easy to follow. Get into it. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.